Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is Tambra's Tales and Tips. I'm happy that you are here. So today we are going to talk about chronic pain. So grab a coffee or tea, get cozy with me, and let's talk about it. So today, sorry, I had to get up and get my little cheat sheet. So for me, I do have chronic pain, and it can be debilitating at times. A few years back, well, when I say a few years, time is going by so fast for me. This was probably about 6 years ago. I was having, chronic pain so strong that I could. There were times that I could barely walk, and it just felt like I was walking through quicksand. And my pain level was like a 7 or an 8, and it was very difficult. Um, And it's ironic that I'm talking about chronic pain because today I'm not feeling that great. The weather has been we've been getting a lot of snow, and that barometric pressure goes down, and it just really messes with me. So my voice sounds different, and I'm just not. So, but the show must go on. So, anyway, if I sound like it, look like I'm not myself, that's because that's the reason why. So I'm a little out of it, so I apologize. But anywho, um, so my chronic pain story, I went from feeling pain all over my body. There was no source. It wasn't like it was my knee or my hip or my shoulder. It was all over my body. It was throbbing, just screaming at me. And I was in so much pain. Um, and I had no idea why I was feeling this way. And, hello menopause. I, uh, it just felt like every day I was getting different and new symptoms, and I would just be like, plot twist, it was just crazy. And so, right around that same time that I was going through that, I got a message through Facebook from my friend Addison Thompson, Dr. Addison Thompson. She is the daughter of my best friend Teresa, and she was in the process of studying to get her doctorate and to be a naturopath physician. And she needed a guinea pig for her iridology course. Now, iridology is the study of the eyes. They say the eyes are the window to the soul, but they're also the window to your health. And she needed a guinea pig. And I'm like, of course, I'd be happy to help. So all I did was I sent her some pictures, close pictures of my eyes. And then a few days later, she did a video consultation. Now, to say that this consultation saved my life is an understatement. I'm going to include a website. It's the Iridology Association of America. They have certified iridologists in every state. So if that's something that you're interested in looking into, I'll provide that information. Um, this saved my life. It seriously did, because when you're in chronic pain, when you're in a lot of pain, it affects your mental health as well. Okay. And I was at that time, I'm 57 now. At that time, I was only like 51, 52. I was way too young to be feeling this way because, like, literally, I was having a hard time walking. It was terrible. And so I'm having a bad hair day. Sorry. Um, So she did that consultation with me. There were some things that she told me, and then some that I already knew, some things she didn't. One of those things was she said that I am extra sensitive to chemicals. And it could be chemicals found in everyday products that we use. It could be chemicals in our carpets, our paint, environmental chemicals, I'm just really, really sensitive. And so that took me to a rabbit hole of, is there association between chronic pain and chemicals that we use? And yes, there is. And per my research that I did, if you know me, I'm a researcher. I will jump online and I will dive in the rabbit hole of researching. I absolutely love doing it. For me, that's fun. I know it's weird. But so, per my research, if you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder or fibromyalgia, you are 33 to 55% more inclined to be sensitive to products that we use every day: shampoos, lotions, conditioners, deodorants, body washes, cleaning supplies, all of it, moisturizers, makeup, all of it. Okay. And that will make you more susceptible to feeling chronic pain. And this huge light bulb just went off in my head. And I was like, you know what? What if I got rid of these products that I use? And I'm talking like the basic stuff like Dove, Olay, L'Oreal, a Pantene for my hair, like that's what I used. And so I'm like, what if I got rid of it and just tried to go as natural as possible? Because it's impossible to do it completely natural unless you make your own. And I'm way too lazy for that. Um, so I did. And uh, in this day and age, it's not that hard to find more natural products. Okay. Because, 20, 30 years ago, it was impossible. So the timing was perfect for me to be able to do this. And so it took a little time to switch it all out, find the right things. But I went from a pain level of a 7 or 8 to a 1 or 2 just by switching out those products. It was life changing. I will always be eternally grateful for Dr. Thompson in that consultation that she did for me. She saved my life. So that is my one tip for you, that if you do have chronic pain, it's widespread, there's no real source, and you can't figure out, and you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder or fibromyalgia. I always have trouble with that word, but then consider doing that. It's not a cure, right? But it will make the pain more manageable to where you can tolerate it more. And that's what I did, and it saved my life. So, some things about chronic pain. Why is everyone feeling so horrible? Why are they in so much pain? And a lot of it has to do with what we eat. There's a lot of chemicals in our foods in our country, and this is not a conspiracy. It's true. There's a lot of chemicals that we put in our foods that are approved by the FDA, and they're going to be changing that soon. They're going to be changing that in the next few years, which desperately need to do, because people are getting sicker. They're dying and they're getting sicker. Um, and the food that they're loading with sugar is addictive. It's almost as addictive as heroin. Where was it that I heard that Oreos are almost as addictive as cocaine? That's how bad it is. I always kind of suspected that, but it didn't really hit home that this was actually true, that the United States, allows a lot more chemicals in their foods. It hit home when I went to Scotland back in 2017. Was my first time I went. If you haven't gone, go. It's amazing. But anyway, the food there was completely different than what it is here. It was real. And I found myself not near as hungry. We would go have breakfast at this really cool, really, really nice little hole in the wall called Charlie's. We would go have breakfast, and we were set for the rest of the day because this was good, real food. And we'd be set, and then we would have dinner, and we were good to go. We weren't hungry the whole time like you are here when you eat the foods here. And then I, on a whim, bought a Sprite. I was curious. And, I take a drink of it, and it wasn't that sweet. It wasn't that sweet at all. And I was just like, huh. So I looked at it. It only had 12 grams of sugar. 12. Here in the States, when we got back home, I bought a Sprite. I wanted to see 56 grams of carbs, of sugar. 56. Theirs was 12. So it just kind of lets you know that 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 the difference, in their country and what they allow and then what we do. Okay. And the same thing with the products that we use, our makeups and our hygiene products are loaded with chemicals. They are loaded with chemicals. So, and if you're thinking, oh, that's just all in your head because you knew you switched it over, that's not true, because I've come across products that advertised they were natural, and I ended up having a reaction and my chronic pain would return. Okay. So one of those was a brand called Raw Sugar, and Raw Sugar advertises as being all natural. However, and it's true, their ingredients are. However, the fragrance that they use is not. And they don't tell you what's in that fragrance. They just say fragrance, right? And so that's the thing you have to be careful with. They can get away with that. They can say they're all natural, but then the fragrance is chock full of all these chemicals. And that's what I was reacting to, which was a shame because I love the smell of raw sugar. It smells divine, but it wasn't worth the pain. So that's my number one tip. If you have widespread pain like that, then please look into trying to go as natural as you can. I have a Pinterest account. It's called Bloom and Balance. I'm going to include that in my description. I've got products in there that I have used, that I still use, and they did not hurt me in any way. So please check that out if you are interested in what I'm saying and want to give that a try. It's harmless, it's not going to hurt anything, and maybe it will be a breakthrough for you and your pain level. Okay. But food. Food is so detrimental to your health, especially processed foods and sugar. I'm not talking granulated sugar that you put in your coffee or whatever. I'm talking about the high fructose corn syrup, those things, that kind of stuff. And they say, oh, it's fine in moderation, but you're not the one moderating it. It's them that's moderating it. So that kind of blows that out the water. Um, Try to avoid that kind of stuff as much as you can. It's hard because a lot of foods are that, but honestly, I will tell you, we do not shop when we go grocery shopping. We do not shop the middle of the store. We're the meat department, the fruits and veggies, and then we'll go into the baking aisle to get some supplies. But we do not buy processed foods. We don't buy those boxed meals. We don't buy those frozen meals and all that. We don't buy that stuff ever, because it is so loaded with chemicals and it's just dangerous. And so there is a word for, or a diagnosis for, someone that is extra sensitive to chemicals, and it's called multiple chemical sensitivity. I'm looking at my thing, and it can cause respiratory issues, neurological, like you'll have trouble focusing, and you'll have fatigue and headaches. That's me. Musculoskeletal, so that is your pain in your body, your bones, and your muscles, pain in muscles and joints. Yep. And 33 to 55% higher risk for those of us that have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder or fibromyalgia. Now, I have arthritis, and then I have chronic inflammation. So that's autoimmune right there. Okay. Some of the autoimmune diseases is type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, IBS, IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, Graves' disease, celiac, anemia, lupus. So there's several of autoimmune diseases. Any arthritis, any itis, dermatitis, colitis, arthritis, those are autoimmune diseases. Okay. And so you may be extra sensitive to chemicals. So take a look at that. Okay. Um, and, and then they have chronic pain syndrome. If you have chronic pain that lasts 12 weeks or more, then, and it's persistent and it's, throbbing and aching, um, that's you right there. Okay. But also look into chemicals. And also take care of your mental health. But if you look into the chemical thing and it helps you, that'll automatically help your mental health. I know that a lot of people that have chronic pain, they're on a lot of pain medications. Believe it or not, those pain medications could mess up your pain receptors and could make your pain worse. I saw it many, many times when I worked at the VA. I'm not a doctor at all. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. So, but I would see people that were on like 15, 20 different medications, just suffering. And medications can cause, not just pain medications, medications alone can cause more pain in your body. So, and there's medications that you can't help, you have to take to save your life. That's understandable. But there's some medications that maybe you don't need. That's purely between you and your doctor, of course. But for me, I take one prescription medication, one, and that's my estradiol. That is my HRT for my menopause. I'll talk about that in another video. But I'm telling you all of this because of my own experience and how it significantly helped me. I can function, I can work out, I can go for walks, I can do things, Whereas before, I'm only like 51 and I'm feeling like I'm 90. And it was a horrible, horrible feeling. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. I told you my chronic pain story and what I did to help me go from a 7 or an 8, go down to a 1 or a 2. Okay. Sometimes it flares up if I use the wrong products, but I know it immediately, because most of my stuff is all natural, right? As natural as possible. But, and when I say chemicals that bother you, I'm talking parabens, physololates, can't say it right. But if you see like ingredients um, that have like that PEG, and then anything that ends with lates or parabens, silicone, I'm sensitive to silicone, sulfur. If you're losing your hair and you're using products that have sulfur phthalate in it, has sulfur, that's the problem. You need to get rid of it because that's what's messing up your hair. Get something that's more natural. I do have shampoo that I use. It's Korean and I love it. It is so good. It cleans really, really well. So that's on my Pinterest account. I will load that up. Now I can only load so many per day of pins on my Pinterest account of the products that I use. So keep looking because I'm in there every single day putting stuff. So so take a look at that. If that's stuff that if you're wanting to do that, take a look at it, and then just kind of, it's not going to harm anything. It's not going to hurt your health, but it's a choice. It's a safer choice than loading up with more medications. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have for the video for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, hit the subscribe button. I can never say that right. I mess it up every time. Hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I will see you next week. I will tell you a story. My friend Teresa reminded me of this story. It's hilarious and surprising, but I will tell you about it next week. So take care, be well, and I will talk to you next week. All right, bye-bye.